like to thank you, Karen. I'd like to start and have Dick Elkin from the Wellfleet Forum um, to introduce the meeting, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. On behalf of the Wellfleet Forum, I'd like to welcome everybody. This meeting is about the extension of the water system, sometimes called the Coles Neck Road extension. It's going to be led primarily by the Board of Water Commissioners, Jim Hood in particular, and he will introduce the remaining speakers. So Jim, without much ado, I'll turn it over to you. Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. If you want to comment, please do so by raising your hand either in the reactions tab on the bottom, or you can use the chat. I guess it's not disabled. It's disabled. Let's use the reactions tab and we will call on you. Thank you. Go ahead, Jim.
I'm Jim Hood. I am with the Board of Water Commissioners here in Wellfleet, and we just want to give an overview of how we got to this point in the process here. And I'm sure that many of you know this information already. At the 2020 annual meeting in September of 2020, the voters approved a plan for installation of a new water main from what we call the Coles Neck Wellfield on Gristmill Way down Route 6 and entering the center of town along Briar Lane. The vote was approved and authorized borrowing of up to 3.8 million for the installation of a new main to replace the original undersized water main installed in 1989 in order to bring the town's secondary water source, the Gristmill Way Wellfield, into compliance with Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection's requirements for a redundant water supply. I'd like to just point out that we were aware of the issue with the water main from Coles Neck for many years. That was the original water line that was installed from that site down Coles Neck Road to service, at that time, back in '89, residences around the transfer station. In response to some concerns about the water quality in the wells there due to contamination from the transfer station. So that's how the system got started, was there. It was a very small line, a 4-inch water main that came down from there and just serviced, essentially to service that area. And over the years, the system grew where extensions were laid into town from there as well. So, but the primary water source now for the town has been the 2 deep wells at what was the former Boy Scout camp site, which is off of Old County Road. And those were installed in 2010. That is in the area of the National Seashore there. And as I said, that was back in 2010, at the same time when the water tower was installed. But we have been aware throughout that time since then that we still had this, what I call the Achilles heel, in the sense of that water main from Coles Neck being undersized. So it did not really service us as a true redundant water source, which is requirement, as I said, from the Department of Environmental Protection. And that's why when this all kind of got started, or at least revisited, when we were also proposing the building of the affordable housing project on Lawrence Road, and recognized that the additional housing there would create additional demand on the water system, and that in all likelihood it would exceed the capacity of the water main from the Gristmill Way site, particularly in the summer months, because the total capacity for that water main in terms of hydraulic flow has been limited to 40,000 gallons a day. And whereas at the Boy Scout Camp wells, it's 100,000 gallons a day there, which is more than adequate to meet our needs. But so the idea of bringing in a new water main, we felt would be important to be able to develop the housing project, as well as to serve additional folks along the route that it was coming down. So as I said, it was approved at town meeting for that. However, we then subsequently reached out to the state of Massachusetts for a grant from the Mass Works program. And we were very fortunate to receive a grant of $2.5 million toward the installation of the water main. And that really was a major gift to us, to say that, because the state had recognized the need for this. That was in addition to a $150,000 grant that we received prior to that and that was for engineering fees associated with this project. So we've been very fortunate that close to 70% of the estimated cost of this installation is being covered with state funds. The engineered plans for the installation have since been completed by Environmental Partners, the engineering company that has worked on our system for a number of years. And we have subsequently or since selected a contractor, Diggett Construction, that is installing the system now. And they were awarded the bid through a competitive bid process. Construction has started, in fact, in certain areas. So right now it's along Briar Lane, but then it will be advancing to areas along Route 6 and back up to the Wellfleet later in the winter months and into the spring. So we felt that it was important to have this informational meeting to help people, to bring people up to date on what's happening and where it's happening and when it's going to happen. So at this point, would like to turn this over to the engineering folks from Environmental Partners to have them explain the what, the where, and the when, and also, so after that, we'll have an opportunity for questions from anybody who may have any questions related to this. So I don't know, Paul, if you're taking it or if it's Todd.
Yeah, I can start, Jim, and then I can have Tyler pull up the map actually in a moment. So I'm Paul Mills from Environmental Partners. As Jim said, so we put this job out to bid last fall, and we received 4 bids in October. The bids range from $1.9 million up to 3.16. We got 4 bids, and the lowest responsible bidder was Diggett Construction from Dennis, who was a Cape Cod contractor, and as Jim said, they have started. Tyler, can you pull up the map, please?
Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah. So the pink line here is the project, and I'll talk about this for a few moments, and then I'll talk about the schedule on a separate slide. So it's approximately 2 miles of pipe, the pink line in its entirety from Briar Lane all the way up into the Wellfield. The contractor right now is working on Briar Lane, and they're going to be working towards Route 6. For work on Route 6, Mass DOT limits the work season on state highways for obvious reasons. We're not going to be allowed to work in the summertime, which is fine. We got plenty of other work to do in the spring and in the fall. But the work on Route 6 is governed by the Mass DOT permit. They allow you to work in the spring and in the fall. And they also have special requirements for, besides traffic control, but also for engineering materials and how you backfill the hole and how you drill services in their right of way. So as Jim mentioned earlier, the water main that comes out of Coles Neck was an old 4-inch water main that runs basically from east to west all the way over to the landfill, goes across Route 6. That's going to be replaced in its entirety there, and where it's shown in pink on this drawing. So we're going to come down Old Hay Road. We're going to directionally drill under Route 6, then go over to Old Truro Road, and then come back onto Route 6, and then come a little bit of a jug handle on Money Hill Road. And then we're back on the Route 6 right away. We're actually going to be off to the side of Route 6 for obvious reasons to minimize our construction impacts. And then we're going to tie in at Briar Lane. So the existing system is shown here in the dashed blue line and green line that we're tying into. So when this is all done, the point that Jim Hood was making about redundancy is the Boy Scout camp well that's not shown in this drawing, it's off in the bottom right-hand corner, is a very productive well site, and it's been the workhorse of your system for many years. And we can get plenty of water out of that well field. The Coles Neck field has been limited by, it's like trying to push a lot of water through a garden hose. It's a 4-inch line, and there's a bunch of 2-inch piping and 4-inch piping as well along that old route. And it was designed to be small and not to provide fire flow. It was designed just to provide domestic flow to the 30 or so homes around the landfill back in 1989, 1990. So with this improvement, we're going to be replacing, about half that pipe from Coles Neck out to Route 6, and then putting in about a mile of pipe down Route 6 and the right of way to tie into the system. Tyler, do you mind pulling up the schedule, the different slide, please? So we worked with Dig It Actually Construction. This literally is hot off the press as of today. So in very simple terms, on the left-hand side, we have Briar Lane, Route 6. We have a list of all the roads we're going to be working on. And we will give this to Jim Hood and to Becky to place on the webpage after this meeting is over, so you're not going to miss anything. But they're actually making some good progress, as you can see. The water main job basically is divided into several portions. You put in the main line, then you test the pipe and make sure it holds up pressure, and then you disinfect it. Then you do lateral services, and you do lateral hydrant branches. So where you see, for example, on Briar Lane, the main and the testing is what's going on right now. That's going to be followed by service work starting on 131 going all the way until the end of February. They're the lateral house services. And then back in April, they'll be doing some temporary paving on the trench on Briar Lane. After they finish up on Briar Lane, they're going to go over to Old Hay Road. Again, put in the main line there, get it tested, do services, and then do some temporary paving in April. But based on their schedule, they hope to have a lot of this work, a lot of the pipe physically in the ground before the beginning of the summer, which is great. And then in the fall, come back and do whatever remaining service work and final paving work. So based on our discussions with Dig It today, knock on wood, this job should be done by the end of this year. We had allowed by our contract the job to go into next spring if need be. So this is the schedule for the project. There is a summer shutdown, as you can see here, in the brown sand color, because we're not going to be working in the summer. That was in the contract to preserve the tourism season in Wellfleet and also to preserve the traffic on Route 6. So that's the overall schedule for the project. I think I'm going to stop there and see, Jim, how you want me to, if you want to go into question and answers right now, or if you have any questions yourself as a water commissioner.
I do not have any specific questions right now, but and I don't know if there's other aspects of the job that you want to talk about now before you take questions.
Well, maybe I'll say, so once the pipe is in and the services are in, it's up to the individual homeowners to, as you've seen, there are some stakes in the ground where our field person is talking to homeowners to see where they want where in their property they'd like to have the what's called the shut off. It's called the curb stop and box. It's a physical shut off on your water main. Whether you tie in or not, there will be a shut off right there. If you do plan on tying in, then the individual homeowner, there's a separate set of rules and regulations to be coordinated with the water department per se to tie in to the system. There is an approved list of contractors on the town's webpage of who's pre-approved to put in water services in town. I believe there's over a dozen contractors on that list. And that's up to the individual homeowner or business owner along the route. Besides that, Jim, there really is not much more to talk about from the engineering and construction end of things. So in summary, we hope to have most, if not all, of the job done this year. We hope to have most, if not all, the physical pipe work done before the summer season starts in earnest, and come back in the fall with final service work and final paving.
Okay. Well, a couple of questions have come up, Paul, that I can raise now that have come to us up to this point. And clearly, you already mentioned this, but it isn't. The water main that's going in is an 8-inch water main, and it's going to connect on one end with a well field, and the other end it will be at the intersection of Main Street and Briar
Yeah,
Lane.
can you pull up the map, Tyler? The map's not coming up, Tyler.
Yeah, it's loading. Give it a second.
Okay.
Let me just stop the share and start back up again. Might be because of. Sorry, Jim, you can keep talking while I troubleshoot this.
One of the questions that came up over the last week or so, Paul, was a question as to, while this work is going on, are the existing users going to notice anything, such as is there any plan to chlorinate water along existing lines?
We will be chlorinating the water main in the new lines and just only in the new lines. So existing customers should not see any taste or odor or change in their water quality. It'll be just localized in the new sections of the water main. And that'll be done by the contractor. Has his own equipment to pump in sodium hypochlorite just into the new mains, disinfect them as is required by Mass DEP, make sure the water quality passes DEP requirements, and then we're good to put in lateral services to the houses and stop there.
So one other question that came up, and this is something that we're not ready to give a firm answer on yet, but as in terms of what the fees might be for connecting to this system. And I just wanted to make folks aware that we are in the process now of working with a consultant to analyze the financial model for the system. It includes connection fees, the rate structure, and any additional fees that are assessed or should be assessed in conjunction with this. So we're not prepared yet to talk about that, but we will have that information well before we're at a position to be able to connect people to the system. And, I know there was also, I don't know if Jay Norton is with us, but there was also a question came up about Old Hay Road, which is up by the Wellfield. There's sections of Old Hay Road that are currently not paved, and whether or not there's any intention of paving those. That, as far as the water project is concerned, we're not making any changes to what's already paved or what isn't at this point. That may be something that would be under consideration by the Department of Public Works, but that's not part of the project for the water main installation. So I think we can take other questions now if there are any.
Jim, there's Kathy wants to speak, and Helen and Gail.
Okay. So why don't we start with Kathy then?
It's Kathleen Bacon. Good afternoon, Jim, and good afternoon to the forum. I want to thank you for hosting this, and a huge thank you to Jim Hood, who's really spearheaded this extension. And, just really grateful that the town has been able to receive grant money from the state to do this. My question is for Paul Millette. Also grateful to have you on board, Paul. We've met before. How many fire suppression hydrants is the town going to gain once the project is completed? And can you give me a ballpark of their location?
I will do my best, Kathleen. The hydrants are normally spaced at about 500-foot spacing. So 10,000 feet divided by 500 gives you about 20, if I do my math right, about 20 plus or minus hydrants will be between Coles Neck and the end of the line on Briar Lane. We have a separate map. We don't have it right here that shows the hydrants. We can certainly get that to you tomorrow or the next day.
That's a good estimate, Paul. We have 21 hydrants in the contract.
Okay, fine. So okay, good. So 21 hydrants on the job, Kathleen. What was your second question? I'm sorry.
How many where will they be located? Are there going to be hydrants on the highway, for example?
Yes, located off of the right of way in careful locations. And we have the detailed design drawings that are a copy of which is at Town Hall and at the DPW shows the specific locations. I can send you a map of those locations tomorrow if you have further interest, but they'll be located off to the side of the road in a careful area so they're not damaged by traffic and minimized and impacted by snow plowing, etc.
Well, again, this is a great bonus and gain for the town. 21 new fire suppression hydrants. Let's hope it makes an impact on homeowners insurance. Thank you.
Sure.
That's a very good point, Kathleen, that in terms of insurance rates, because while I know a substantial amount of work was done several years ago to get the town a better rating in terms of the fire protection, that then that resulted in adjustment of insurance rates for many people in town. However, more recently, I understand that the insurance companies are holding more strictly to the requirements that a property must be within 1,000 feet of a hydrant to enjoy a reduced rate associated with fire protection. And I can speak for myself that on my home, that in fact that my insurance rates went up because I am outside that 1,000-foot radius of a hydrant, and they went up substantially when that happened. So this, I think, is a bonus for those folks who are going to be along that route.
Jim, Helen has her hand up.
Yes, please go ahead, Helen. You want to unmute yourself, Helen?
Thank you. Through you, Jim, to Mr. Millett. What was the rationale? Wait, let me just be sure I understand. The line is going to go from Old Truro Road, the intersection of Old Truro Road and Route 6, along the west side of Route 6. Is that correct? The bay side?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so given that I've confirmed that, I'm expressing no opinion here, but what was the rationale for not having the line continue along Route 6 and even perhaps be on the ocean side, the east side of it, when going past Money Hill Road. Because directly across from Money Hill Road is Eric's Way. And there are many, many units there, including 2 with multiple units. In other words, 2 structures that have multiple apartments, as well as a number of other residences. Actually, I think there are 3 with multiple units. In any case, what was the rationale there? Because in fact, I live on Money Hill Road. I know exactly what the usage is. And it just puzzled me why that little teacup handle was going to be serviced when directly across the street, there would be arguably many more hookups. And that's true pretty much all the way along the east side of Route 6 from where you go into that subdivision with Grist Hill Way all the way to Briar Lane. There are many more units that might be serviced on the East Ocean side. So, Mr. Millett, what was the rationale there?
The rationale was twofold. One is we're trying to replace as much of the old main as we can, Helen, along Old Truro Road. So we're going to be, that pipe will be replaced by a new pipe. But we are putting in lateral stubs to the right, to the east, if you will, at Eric's Way and other streets as you go down Route 6, Helen. So we are providing them. They're not shown here. So there's a short stub going across to Eric's Way, which will be available. And there are stubs going to the, yes, Tyler, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, there are lines going across to the east side. If you go back, Tyler, to the big drawing, please, it might be easier just to show it. So we are providing lateral pipes crossing Route 6 going to the east for properties on that side. So we're not missing out on potential connections.
Okay, so thank you for that detailed answer. That makes sense, given your plans. And I have one more point to make, and perhaps you can confirm it and tell me if I'm wrong. Every time you have a joint in a pipe, and every time you have one of those, what do you call them? I know the term. It's a stub, right? That is an Achilles heel in a water system. Even if it never gets used, that is a place where you would have a leak as opposed to the run of the pipe with no, stubs or any other, straight pipe with nothing interrupting it is much less likely to leak than places where pipes come together or there's a stub. And I'm wondering about the fact that you're going to be putting stubs where nobody has yet said they want them. Is that cost effective? And you're not doing that for every property, right? You're just doing it at major intersections like Eric's Way.
We're putting. Are you okay? Is that the end of the question, Helen? Or are you?
Yes, it is. And
okay.
Thank you for giving me the time, Jim, to clarify this fully.
No, that's a good question. We're putting in, so the main pipe is an 8-inch pipe. That's the main line. The laterals, hydrants, branches are 6 inches to each hydrant, and then 6 inches to each, 8 inches to side streets or side roads. We are providing a 1-inch service to every property along the way as we're required by Mass General Law, whether you want to tie in or not. So every property abutting the water main will get there'll be a stub that ends at your property line with a shutoff, whether you tie in or not. That's what we've been doing. That's what's done customarily on every job, Helen, and on water systems. So everybody has the right or the option to tie in, whether now or never or 30 years from now. Regarding, let's say, a lateral service on Eric's Way or any side street, the water main will be pressure tested up to 150 pounds per square inch for several hours, and it'll have to hold its pressure. And then after it holds its pressure, then it's deemed to have passed. I think the bigger concern with lateral side streets where you don't have active services, you normally put in a blow off or a drain line to bleed off some water, so you have some flow going through a line, and you don't have a dead end, as it's called, that can lead to some water quality problems. Many years ago, the town had a blow off down on Kendrick Avenue before we did the extension up Hiller Ave and Chickasaw Neck Road. So you need to have if you have some dead ends that are not in use or there are no services off them, it's customary to put in like a 1-inch blow off and to drain it every so often to have some water flowing through the pipe. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and I was aware of that. And of course, every single one of those connections is an Achilles heel. Thank you very much.
Okay. Because this is a loop system here, the amount of, we don't envision having actually any, there'll be no blow offs here on the main line because it's all going to be one big loop with the connection. The 3 lateral connections to the streets on the east side of Route 6 will have a hydrant and a blow off to be used as needed, if needed.
Jim, Gail has a question.
Go ahead, Gail.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now. So, Jim, my question is directed to you. You spoke about the state requirement for redundant water system, water delivery system. And it strikes me, looking at the map before me, that we won't have a redundant system unless we do some work on Coles Neck Road. Is that correct? I'll say a little bit more. Is the Coles Neck Road in need of an increase in the pipe size?
Oh, I see what you're asking. Okay. No, I mean, the polyethylene pipe that is on Coles Neck Road, which was installed back in '89, from information that we have been provided on that has that pipe is still fine. It has a useful life of up to 50 years. However, it can't supply the hydraulic flow necessary to be able to provide for the whole system if we had a problem with the primary well field. So this is where this new water main will allow for the Coles Neck well field from Gristmill Way to be the redundant water source in the event that there's a problem at the Boy Scout Camp well field.
Okay, now I understand. Thank you.
Jim, Dave Silverman.
Dan Silverman, yes.
Hello, Jim. Thank you for taking my question, and hello, Paul Millette as well. You may remember, I think I worked with you when I was fire chief back when the system was being expanded a while back. Question I have is similar to Gail's, and I just wonder why, or let me rephrase that, given that we've gotten, and I guess this is for both the water commissioners and for the engineers, given that we've gotten so much funding that we didn't necessarily expect, mightn't it be wise to go ahead and replace that Coles Neck road system line now, while you have a company that's already mobilized and in the field doing the work? That line is undersized in terms of fire protection. That line is useless. And in terms of the hydrodynamic flow for everything from Briar Lane out toward the landfill, there's really not adequate flow for really effective fire protection. That line in red there. So in terms of supplying that from a couple of directions, it would hydrodynamically, it would work a whole lot better if that 4-inch line were brought up to the standards of the rest of the system. Given that there is, some excess funding perhaps available, mightn't it be wise to go ahead and expand this project and replace that line now? I'd be curious about your thoughts on that.
I'd like for Paul to kind of take a stab at that, but just to point out that the estimate on the total cost on this was 3.84 million. And we've received 2.5 million of that. So there's still going to be some expense to the town here. So I think if, in my opinion, what you're suggesting, I think is an important fact and a great idea. However, I think we would have to revisit this as a separate project because it can't be done under the existing grant. Paul, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, Dan, good to see you. Yes, I do remember working with you 10 years ago, and I'm glad you're enjoying retirement. Yeah, we looked at, I mean, the answer, there's a technical answer to your question and there's a political answer to your question. Technically, we looked at replacing the whole water main going from west to east 2 years ago, and then also with this option here. And this option here was chosen because we do pick up more customers going down Route 6 and on Briar Lane, and we alleviate most of the hydraulic problems with the old 4-inch water main. The fire flow that obviously is near and dear to your heart, the fire flow right now, which is the maximum amount of flow you could get from a water main, is about 250 or 270 gallons a minute on the old 4-inch water main, which is not a lot to fight a fire. Normally you need 700 to 1,000 to 1,500 gallons a minute. So with the new main in pink here, the fire flow availability in that dashed green line, Dan, will increase to about 700 gallons a minute on Coles Neck Road. To the left. So the part that we're not replacing will have a lot more fire flow than now, but less than would be required in a perfect world. Yeah, in a perfect world, it should be replaced. It will get a lot better, but you know, it's having a 4-inch water main is unusual, but it's what was put in 30 years ago. I think you know, the issue of expanding the water system in Wellfleet obviously is a very sensitive topic, and that needs to be, I think, digested at many levels here. So long term, it should be replaced, but it's not going to be as chronic as the problem was, Dan, you know, before this job was completed.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you for that information. I didn't realize that it would help. I didn't think the 4-inch line would support that much flow, but that's for the sake
Yeah,
of it.
I mean, it's you're going to have a big pipe feeding it from both ends, from both the end where the red pipe comes in here on the left end near Pheasant Lane. That's a big pipe there, and you're going to have a big pipe here where the pink meets Coles Neck Road. So you have 2 big pipes on each end feeding this, where in the past you only had 1 small pipe, Dan.
What is that red? That red is a 12?
That red is an 8.
An 8. Okay.
Fed by a 12 there's a 12 coming from the tank all the way downtown, and you got a lot of water coming through there, but that's where we're at.
Okay, thanks so much.
No problem.
Jim, Dick Elkin has his hand up.
Hi,
Yes.
Jim. This is just an inquiry. Where is the Lawrence Road project housing on this map, and how is it potentially serviced?
Okay. So I don't know, is the water tower visible on this map?
Yeah, it's yeah, that big blue dot there where Tyler is circling is the water tower right now, Dick. So the development over there will be serviced off the existing water main that exists in the ground right now. A new service and pipe will need to be run into the property based on the developer's final layout.
Oh, but it is currently served.
No, it's currently an empty lot right now behind the baseball field, as I understand it. So the area, there's no pipe going into the 10, 15 acre site at this time, but it will be served by a new connection from the existing water main.
Thank
And
you.
the existing water main services the school, the police, and fire station.
Correct.
Jim, Helen has her hand up again.
Hi, I have an engineering question that came into my mind when Dan Silverman was talking to you, Mr. Millett. So the Coles Neck, that little stretch of Coles Neck pipe, the 4-inch pipe, has been in there for a long time, and the joints and the various stubs and connections there have been in there for a long time. Does this slight increase in pressure that will be created, would that not just because every 30 years you typically, have to do something, put new pipes in the ground and so forth, sometimes more, sometimes less. than 30 years. But is there any chance that this extra pressure, which yes, for fire suppression would be desirable, would exacerbate the potential for leaks in this old pipe with these old connections?
No, Helen, because the pressure is not going to change. The pressure right now, the water storage tank off of next to the ball field maintains the pressure throughout the entire system. So the existing 4-inch line is seeing the pressure from the tank by the water pipe that comes down from the tank and meanders through town and comes up all the way on Pole Dyke Road. So the pressure in that pipe isn't going to change. What will change is the flow in the pipe, but the pipe will not break or fail any more readily just because we're putting in a bigger pipe on one end on Old Truro Road.
Thank you. You can tell I'm not an engineer. I just sort of,
No, that's fine. It's a good question.
I'm a fellow traveler. Thank you.
Karen, do we have any additional questions?
There's nobody else with their hand up, no.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, I'd like to first thank folks from Environmental Partners for being here with us and giving a really great explanation as to what the project is and the timeline for that. And also to point out that if I would expect that we'll have questions going forward, and that just a reminder to people that if you do have questions, please send an email to Karen, or you call her line at the water office, which is 349-0330, and leave a message, and we will attempt to get back to you. So I'd also like to thank the forum, Dick Elkin and the other members of the forum, for helping us set this up. I think it's a really valuable service for the town, and it helps us get the message out there. And we will be hopefully using the forum for additional information over the coming months about the installation of the water main, but also other issues that are impacting on the water system here in Wellfleet. So and if there are no further questions, sorry?
I don't see any more hands up, so
Okay.
thank you very much, Jim, and I guess we can adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you, Louise.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Thank you all.